we've just, Mr. Uday Kotak has just joined us, President of CII. Mr. Kotak, thanks for being on the NDTV Solutions Summit. All the panelists have just said that even a letter the CII had written a week ago to the Prime Minister, circumstances have changed so fast as we've been hit with this second tsunami of cases, as it were, the number of deaths. What are the emergency solutions that CII can actually recommend, or what would you recommend that as the top 3 emergency measures which need to be done now?
I think we need to divide it into 3 clear buckets. First is here and now. And in here and now, it is essentially oxygen, bed capacity, a medicine capacity, that is things like remdesivir and others, and vaccination. These 4 have to be here and now in terms of speed at which we gather all these 4. And as we have said in our letter a week ago, we as a country need to do whatever it takes. And it's not about price. It's not about anything. This is a crisis time, and we must go all out in these 4 specific areas of here and now action. Second is in terms of behavior and action and government actions. In the second bucket, I would go by experts. What are healthcare experts telling us in terms of hospital capacity and how do we handle the load? And here we've got to keep in mind the experts themselves are horribly confused. Now I'm hearing that this could be an airborne phenomenon.
Yes.
Earlier, all this while, for the last 1 year, we believed it was particle-led to now airborne. Therefore, we are all in many ways grappling and groping in the dark with reference to the virus itself. Therefore, I would believe that we should not be looking at who is at fault, but within the framework of what little we know about the virus, go with the expert view, including on capacity of the system for taking critical decisions on containment and restrictions. And third is, while lives certainly are the first priority, and undoubtedly, we got to ensure that we don't lose more lives through issues of livelihood.
Exactly.
We have seen the challenges of migration last April when we did the very severe lockdowns and people just ran back home into their villages. And that is a very frightening scene. Therefore, we should be very careful about disproportionate risk to life coming from livelihood as well. And therefore, before we take a call on something which is very extreme, we need to think through the consequences of that, some of which we have experienced last year. So 3 clear buckets. One is here and now, immediate area of supplies, oxygen, bed capacity, medicines, and vaccination. Second is, in terms of the next steps, don't rely on public opinion, rely on experts. Keeping in mind, experts themselves are in a state of confusion in many areas.
Right.
And the third really is, don't do things which create more risk to life as we go forward because of impact on livelihood. And keep in mind, this is a virus we don't know. We are playing COVID 2.0. We got to start preparing how we are going to fight in the future, because there could be a 3.0 or a 4.0. We do not know.
And we can't be. In fact, Mr. Kotak, just to ask you on that, in that sense, how can industry also come in and also battle COVID 2.0? Because one way, I asked your colleagues just now on the panel that, for instance, how can we get rid of this over-regulation of issues of whether oxygen can be given in Maharashtra, has to be cleared centrally by the center, how much vaccines should be given to a state is cleared by the center. How do we open up all the red tape at a time like this, which seems to be slowing us down? We stop export of remdesivir, but can remdesivir go to a particular state? There's still so much regulation, even at a time when it is literally a matter of lives.
It is a delicate balance. On the one hand, there are advantages of decentralization. On the other, there are risks of chaos. Okay, therefore we need some balance between some method in how it goes versus excessive control. And this is a balance which needs to be done. And the only way it can happen is if India functions as one seamless country in this hour of crisis. It is not center, it is not states, it is India. And if we take that as the primary objective and make it work, go beyond political differences, because this is a national crisis, we will move forward. Unfortunately, too much of politics is getting into many areas.
Absolutely, and I hope all CI will also commit. It would be wonderful if each industry said, we'll set up a hospital, we'll take charge of this hospital and make sure beds are provided on an emergency basis. Is CI looking at options that we can do in this way just to actually ramp up things which are actually simple, medical oxygen and infrastructure like hospital beds, convert maybe factories which are empty?
I think most large corporations are going out of the way in the area of oxygen and capacity. And I'll request my colleague Narendra, who runs Tata Steel and one of the largest producers of oxygen, how he is supporting the national cause, as also are many other manufacturers in the area of oxygen. Narendra, would you like to give specifically what you're doing at Tata Steel?
Sure, Dave. You know, even if you take something like oxygen, right? I mean, if you really look at it, there's supply of oxygen, which is actually available in plenty. The bottleneck is not the supply of oxygen. The bottleneck is how do you transport it? Because there are only some hospitals which have the storage. The rest of them need cylinders. So the bottleneck could be in the bottling plants, which need to bottle it in cylinders and supply. And the bottleneck could be the cryogenic tankers, which are required to transport the liquid oxygen, to the hospitals who can store it. So that's why some amount of control from the center, as Uday said, is important, because if cryogenic tankers are the bottleneck, you don't want these tankers spending 10 days transporting oxygen from the eastern part of the country to the western part. You want them to do shorter circuits and come back to fill up more oxygen and deliver it. So what the government is trying to do, if I look at Tata Steel, we are now supplying about 200 to 300 tons per day of liquid medical oxygen to 4 or 5 states in the eastern region, whether it's Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, West Bengal, UP, and MP. So we've been told that these are the states that we will ask you to supply. We said, fine. So every day we tell them what is the stock we have. We get, tankers lined up and we supply. And that's what is happening across the country. So I think the steel plants on the western side are servicing the states in the west and so on and so forth. So I think some sort of optimization has to be done centrally so that there's no chaos, as Uday said. But I think if you organize it well, at least you'll make good use of what is available. And I think industry is ready to step up and do whatever is required. And we're doing that. Even in terms of hospitals, I think many of us run, Tata Steel runs 1,500 beds of hospitals. So, many of the companies are doing that. So I think many of our members have clearly raised their hand to step up.